Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Homage to the Blessed One, Supremely Enlightened Buddha. Sadhu. I pay homage to my teacher, Lovingkindness. Sadhu. Today, so what are you going to learn first? A beautiful story. Okay, then I have selected one story for you. Okay, so let's see what we can learn from this story and the following verse. And this verse was uttered by the Blessed One. And this is the background story. Who is going to read first?
May I?
Mm-hmm.
The story of Sāmāvatī. While residing at the Gosita Monastery near Kasambi, the Buddha uttered verses 21, 22, and 23 of this book, with reference to Sāmāvatī, one of the chief queens of Udena, king of Kosambi. Sāmāvatī had 500 maids of honor staying with her at the palace. She also had a maid servant called Gujutara. The maid had to buy flowers for Sāmāvatī from the florist Sumana every day. On one occasion, Gujatara had the opportunity to listen to a religious discourse delivered by the Buddha at the home of Sumana, and she attained Sotapati fruition. She repeated the discourse of the Buddha to Sāmāvatī and the 500 maids of honor, and they also attained Sotapati fruition. From that day, Kujutara did not have to do any menial work, but took the place of mother and teacher to Sāmāvatī. She listened to the discourses of the Buddha and repeated them to Sāmāvatī and her maids. In course of time, Kujutara mastered the Tipitaka.
So
Sāmāvatī and her
rejoicing,
maids.
reading. Hey, so I think you can understand here. Now Kujutara, a lay disciple of the Buddha, was able to teach the Dhamma to the Queen Sāmāvatī and her fellow queens in the palace, because Sāmāvatī and her fellow queens did not get a chance to go frequently to see the Buddha and listen to the Dhamma. Fortunately, they had Kujutara. She was always sharing the teachings after she returned from the monastery. Another Kalyanamita to continue reading?
I can try, Bhante.
Okay.
Sāmāvatī and her maids wished very much to see the Buddha and pay obeisance to him. But they were afraid the king might be displeased with them. So, making holes in the walls of their palace, they looked through them and paid obeisance to the Buddha every day as he was going to the houses of the three rich men, namely Kosaka, Kukutta, and Pawariya. At that time, King Udena had also another chief queen by the name of Margandiya. She was the daughter of Margandiya, a Brahmin. The Brahmin, seeing the Buddha one day, thought the Buddha was the only person who was worthy of his very beautiful daughter. So he hurriedly went off to fetch his wife and daughter and offered to give his daughter in marriage to the Buddha. Turning down his offer, the Buddha said, "Even after seeing Tanha, Arati, and Raga, the daughters of Mara, I felt no desire in me for sensual pleasures. After all, what is this which is full of urine and filth and which I don't like to touch, even with my food?" On hearing those words of the Buddha, both the Brahmin and his wife attained Anagami Magga and Pala. They entrusted their daughter to the care of her uncle and themselves joined the order. Eventually, they attained arhatship. The Buddha knew from the beginning that the Brahmin and his wife were destined to attain anagami fruition that very day. Hence, his reply to the Brahmin in the above manner. However, the daughter Margandeya became very bitter and sore, and she vowed to take revenge if and when an opportunity arose. Later, her uncle presented Margandeya to King Udena, and she became one of his chief queens. Margandeya came to learn about the arrival of the Buddha in Kosambi and about how Sāmāvatī and her mates paid obeisance to him through holes in the walls of their living quarters. So she planned to take her revenge on the Buddha and to harm Sāmāvatī and her mates, who were ardent devotees of the Buddha. Margandeya told the king that Sāmāvatī and her mates had made holes in the walls of their living quarters and that they had outside contacts and were disloyal to the king. King Udena saw the holes in the walls, but when the truth was told, he did not get angry.
Sadhu, we rejoice in you. So, what is the purpose of making those holes on the walls?
So they can see the Supreme Buddha Bhante.
Yeah, and pay homage to the Buddha. You know, sometimes people don't have enough merit, enough freedom, even to go to see the Buddha. So think about your fortune, your merit. You always have the opportunity to go and see the monks, to see the stupas, bodhi trees, to pay homage to those holy sites and listen to the Dhamma from the monks once anytime you like. But not everybody gets that opportunity. That's a rare opportunity. That's a result of powerful good karma. So let's see. Now there are two queens, chief queens in the palace to King Udena, and Queen Margandeya got angry with the Buddha. She didn't realize that the truth of the word of the Buddha, because she was not matured enough to penetrate the deep Dhamma. Now think about her parents. Buddha read the minds of her parents and understood their spiritual faculties were matured enough to understand the deep Dhamma, and that Dhamma about the impurity of this body, impure nature of this body. It was from the contemplation of the body, kaya and vasana, as soon as for the first time in their lives. when they heard about the true nature of this body and how to contemplate in line with the teachings of the Buddha, they reached the jhanas, they developed the establishments of mindfulness and attained stage of non-returning, the third stage of enlightenment, right there sitting in front of the Buddha. So they had enough merit, the parents, but the daughter didn't. And now she's trying to destroy the Buddha and his disciples. You can see that you can see so many different things in this story, background story to the Dhammapada verse. Powerful merits of some individuals and powerful demerits of other individuals, and loving kindness of the true disciples of the Buddha, and also the hatred of ordinary people, worldly people. Okay, who's going to read next?
I will read Bhante.
Okay, Barry.
But Magadanya kept on trying to make the king believe Sāmāvatī was not loyal to him and was trying to kill him. On one occasion, knowing that the king would be visiting Sāmāvatī within the next few days and that he would be taking along his lute with him, Magadanya inserted a snake into the lute and closed the hole with a bunch of flowers. Magadanya followed King Udena to Sāmāvatī's quarters after trying to stop him on the pretext that she had some presentiment and felt worried about his safety. At Sāmāvatī's place, Magadanya removed the bunch of flowers from the hole of the lute. The snake came out hissing and coiled itself on the bed. When the king saw the snake, he believed Magadanya's words that Sāmāvatī was trying to kill him. The king was furious. He commanded Sāmāvatī to stand and all her ladies to line up behind her. Then he fitted his bow with an arrow, dipped in poison, and shot the arrow. But Sāmāvatī and her ladies bore no ill wills towards the king, and through the power of goodwill, metta, the arrow turned back. Although an arrow shot by the king usually went even through a rock. Then the king realized the innocence of Sāmāvatī, and he gave her permission to invite the Buddha and his disciples to the palace for alms food and for delivering discourses. Magadanya realized that none of her plans had materialized, made a final, infallible plan. She sent a message to her uncle with full instructions to go to Sāmāvatī's place and burn down the building with all of the women inside. As the house was burning, Sāmāvatī and her maids of honor, numbering 500, kept on meditating. Thus, some of them attained Sakadagami fruition, and the rest attained Anagami fruition. As the news of the fire spread, the king rushed to the scene, but it was too late. He suspected that it was done at the instigation of Magadanya, but he did not show that he was suspicious. Instead, he said, "While Sāmāvatī was alive, I had been fearful and alert, thinking I might be harmed by her. Only now my mind is at peace. Who could have done this? It must have been done only by someone who loves me very dearly." Hearing this, Magadanya promptly admitted that it was she who had instructed her uncle to do it. Whereupon the king pretended to be very pleased with her and said that he would do her a great favor and honor all her relatives. So the relatives were sent for and they came gladly. On arrival at the palace, all of them, including Magandia, were seized and burnt in the palace courtyard by the order of the king.
Yeah, Barry, you can continue.
When the Buddha was told about these two incidents, he said that those who are mindful do not die, but those who are negligent are as good as dead even while living. Then the Buddha spoke in verse as follows. Mindfulness is the way to the deathless, nibbana. Unmindfulness is the way to death. Those who are mindful do not die. Those who are not mindful are as if already dead. Fully comprehending this, the wise who are mindful rejoice in being mindful and find delight in the domain of the noble ones, Aryas. The wise, constantly cultivating tranquility and insight development practice, being ever mindful and steadfastly striving, realize Nibbana. Nibbana, which is free from the bonds of yoga. Nibbana, the incomparable.
Sadhu. We rejoice in your reading. Very okay. So at that time, when the palace was on fire, Margandia and her fellow queens realized all the doors and windows were locked outside, so they were not able to escape. But most importantly, the chief queen Sāmāvatī instructed her friends and asked them not to get angry at the king or anybody. She encouraged them to practice loving kindness meditation. And through that meditation, followed by Vipassana, they all attained stages of enlightenment. And because when the Buddha was questioned about their future destination, there were 500 queens there. Buddha explained all of them attained stages of enlightenment. No one of them passed away in vain, like without attaining any stages of enlightenment. Buddha explained that they all have been reborn in heaven now and striving to attain the end of suffering there. So we don't know what kind of situation we have to face the next moment, right? But the most important thing is to face that situation with a calm, peaceful, insightful mind. And also, we don't know the karma following behind us. And I think I read somewhere else there was a bad karma done by Queen Sāmāvatī and her friends in their past lives. That was the reason. But anyway, they were able to practice the word of the Buddha. They faced death without hating anybody, without remorseful thoughts, but just following the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the most important thing. We cannot control the outside world. We cannot expect the peaceful things always happening around us. No matter what is happening outside world, if we can practice inwardly, the Noble Eightfold Path is the one and only solution to end this suffering. And this is not the only time Queen Sāmāvatī and her friends faced that destiny. In this long journey of samsara, the same thing has happened again and again. Not only to Sāmāvatī and her friends, to all of us. We have faced tragedies like that again and again, and we are going to face tragedies like that in the future, as long as we continue in this long journey of samsara. And now you can see very clearly we need a permanent solution for this. And that permanent solution was discovered by the Buddha. This morning, Bhantes were discussing about an interesting thing. When we see people helping others, you know, when somebody is hungry and doesn't have food to eat and somebody offers some food, or somebody doesn't have, you know, a winter jacket or whatever, and then somebody else offers one. And like that, after receiving that gift or after receiving that help, how much happiness the receiver you know, experiences and expresses, and how much grateful that person is. And that's a very good thing. That's highly appreciated by the Buddha, giving and sharing, helping others, cultivating thoughts of compassion is highly appreciated. But if we think deeply, that is a temporary solution for that person. There's a temporary way of helping to overcome hunger of that person. There's a temporary solution to overcome cold. There's a temporary solution to overcome this or that. And that person is going to face the same problem again and again, countless times. But think about the gratefulness and thankfulness of that person who received that help. Just a little bit of rice or a winter jacket or whatever. How much gratefulness and thankfulness in that person's heart. And now think about somebody who provides you with the permanent solution. That you will never experience that kind of pain or suffering in the future. Can you imagine that help you receive from the Buddha? So Bhantes were discussing about this. Like if that person is that much grateful towards the person who helped giving food or giving a certain gift, and how much more grateful we should be towards the Buddha, because Buddha is giving such a permanent solution to end our suffering. Did you get that?
Yes, Bhante.
That's the limitless compassion of the Buddha. At the same time, Bhantes are discussing that we don't feel that. Some people don't feel that. It's such a profound way. When we are hungry, if somebody gives us something to eat, we feel so grateful and thankful for that person, and with a happy face and with tears in our eyes, we thank that person, right? But we hear the words of the Buddha that would permanently end our suffering. Not only hunger, all the sufferings. Do we feel the same happiness? Do we feel the same gratitude? Do we feel the same thankfulness? I don't know. Just think about it.
Why not, Bhante? We should be eternally grateful, for sure. It's amazing what the Buddha taught. We're so lucky to even hear the Dhamma coming out. It's like honey dewdrops. for everybody. We're so lucky that you, all the monks, Mahasangha, are teaching us. Eternally grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. So the basic idea here is that Buddha's words, even though we don't feel it at once, maybe some people don't feel it in a very gross way, that Buddha's message is a permanent solution. We can still make an effort to understand what the Buddha wanted to give to this world. And maybe one day we will realize that message, even though we don't feel it now, even though some people don't feel it now. And that day, even though Buddha's teachings don't give us food, don't give us clothing, don't give us any material thing, we will realize that Buddha's help, Buddha's message, Buddha's Dhamma goes beyond all those material gifts. Gift of Dhamma surpasses all the other gifts. So that gift was given to the world by the Buddha. And that day, when we realize it, even though we are hungry, even though we don't have a place to live, even though we are poor, we will be still extremely happy, because we know that we are following the path to permanent solution. Right? So Sāmāvatī, Queen Sāmāvatī's story is a powerful story to understand. And even they were followers of the Buddha. Did you see how the results of evil karma still follows? But that evil karma, the hatred of enemies, could only damage the physical body. It could not damage their minds. Isn't that powerful? The fire, the water, the accidents, the natural disasters, the sicknesses, diseases, they can damage somebody's body. But if the mind is very well established in the permanent solution, the mind is not going to be damaged. And how is somebody's mind damaged? How does that happen? If anger enters the mind, if hatred enters the mind, if greediness enters the mind, if these negative qualities, if ungratefulness entered the mind, with these negative qualities, the mind gets damaged. But in any situation, if the Dhamma is very well protected in the mind is not damaged, and that is the protection. Now this pandemic has hit in an undescribable way to the humanity. And the majority thinks we are helpless, we are unfortunate, we have failed, we have been attacked. But that's only for the body. It can destroy the body. Can it destroy the Dhamma of a mind? It cannot. If you earn something in your life that cannot be destroyed by fire, by water, by virus, by thieves, by enemies, then you are very lucky. You are extremely fortunate, and that should be the goal of life. To earn that amazing Dhamma that cannot be destroyed by anything or by anybody. And that's the kind of help Buddha gave to the world of gods and humans. Sadhu, sadhu.